Hi, I'm Jen Newman, and welcome to my TED Talk. Not really, but I just kind of go crazy with these Zoom backgrounds every once in a while, and I've always wanted to give a TED Talk, so I thought I'd choose this as my background today when I'm joining you virtually. So, first of all, thanks for inviting me here. I'm always excited to share thoughts on social media. Um, I was an early adopter of things like Facebook and things like Twitter, and it's really interesting to me to go back in time and look at what that engagement looked like then versus what engagement looks like now. So um, when I was asked to do this, I asked for some direction and what would be helpful. And the direction I was given was that people need an understanding of what it's like to connect using social media and to use that as a communication tool, but also thinking about the good and the bad behind it. What connects us to other people? How do we use it in that way, in the way that we want to use it, and how to essentially kind of inoculate yourself against some of the more negative messaging that's out there. So I wanted to start with the fact that I mean, social media, and I'm going to focus mostly on Facebook here today, because Instagram is really owned by Facebook, and Twitter is kind of a whole different animal. But a lot of us use Facebook. So when I say social media today, I'm really, for the most part, I'm referring to Facebook. So the good, right? It provides us with a feeling of connectivity. But at the same time, it can also be highly divisive. It's very easy for sort of flame wars to sprout up in the middle of a, seemingly innocent or well-meaning post. It's really easy for people to respond to something emotionally on Facebook. I've been guilty as charged on multiple occasions, and have really had to learn some hard lessons regarding that. Um, but there is still this base cool part of it where you can connect with somebody, you went to high school with, or that, you met in a meeting and you didn't get a chance to really connect with that person, but there was something there. So you have a chance to find them or stalk them online, and connect with them, learn a little bit more about them, and maybe strike up a whole new friendship that would have been much more difficult once upon a time. So, I mean, there are great things about social media. I've reconnected with family that are far flung and, very distant, and have really found a lot of solace in missing my dad by connecting with his family. So, like, there are really wonderful things about social media. And I really encourage everybody who uses it to keep that in mind as their goal in using social media. So when social media really started hitting mainstream and moving beyond um, the colleges, it used to be that you had to have a .edu address to use something like Facebook because it was really created for to be used by college students. So when that all changed and suddenly it became mainstream, there were all kinds of workshops on managing your personal brand on Facebook. And in retrospect, that was a mistake, because when you're managing your brand on Facebook, you are often curating things, and you are presenting yourself the way you want to be seen rather than the way in some ways than you really are. And I'm going to talk about signaling in a little bit, and what that means. But that was a big thing, just 5 years ago, and I'm sure there's still workshops on there now, like how to manage your personal brand on Facebook. But there's also a lot of work out there regarding being authentic and being vulnerable, and it's a tricky balance, right? You want to be authentic and you want to be vulnerable, but you also don't want people to think you're crazy. So um, thinking about social media as your outlet for how you feel is it can be tricky. So I, I really advise people to think of it as a way to connect initially, and then as a way to spur conversations in a more offline and authentic way that you're not going to be comfortable doing in real life. So uh, we talk about this in terms of there's curation, right? There are people who post things and they are taking their most beautiful moments in life and making them even more beautiful with, say, a filter or 2 or 3 filters and maybe some creative cropping. And then they're putting that out there for the world to consume. And there are a lot of studies that say that that curated effect causes pain to people and causes some feelings of jealousy or insecurity. So, one thing that I'm trying to remember in my own social media is that, well, first of all, not everybody needs to hear every thought that crosses through my head because that will just make everybody unhappy. But also that when I am sharing an image or when I'm sharing a moment from my life, um, I want to think about what that puts out there in the world, right? When I share something, a picture of my kids, for instance, and then I, not only crap out like my dirty dishes in the sink, and I put a filter on it so my um, cabinets don't look so dull in the background and try to make that look better, then I'm curating it. I'm making it better than it actually is, and that's putting something out there, right? I'm doing something to other people when I do that kind of thing. So so think about that. That not only when somebody else does it, how it makes people feel, but also how when we do it, it makes people feel. And again, there's this whole balance between being authentic and being crazy, right? Like you're probably not going to share out there that you are having maybe an absolute terrible day. You've had a dark night of the soul, or you've been crying about something all day. That's doesn't feel appropriate to put out there either. So ask yourself, do I need to share any of that? I think we have to start asking ourselves when I put things out there, how are they making other people feel? Not just from a how's it making me feel to put that out there and share that beautiful moment or that crazy moment, but how's it making other people feel? Because if you wouldn't do it in real life to somebody, should you do it on social media? And it's not something that people are even consciously doing. There's lots of material out there. If you look up signaling, what that does and what that is. Everything we do involves signaling. Me picking a TEDx background because I'm trying to be funny, but also I'm trying to kind of signal that I've got something to say, and I want to be on a stage to say it here, right? Everything we do is a signal of some kind, and that doesn't mean it's malicious, and it doesn't mean it's ill intent, but everything we put out there is a form of a signal. So the next thing is really that when you are, say, you're scrolling through your feed and you're finding, and a lot of people do, that it kind of leaves you with an icky feeling. You have to ask yourself why. Like why am I comparing myself to this when it's a obviously curated moment, or even a non-obviously curated moment? Asking yourself why in that case, why it causes that feeling, that can really help people use social media in a much more productive way for themselves. And finally, that connecting authentically um, doesn't always have to happen on a Facebook post. Um, it's interesting. Facebook, it's one of the most handy things about Facebook is that it reminds me of birthdays, because I am absolutely terrible about remembering people's birthdays. I mean, just terrible. And so the fact that this app helps me with that is great. But I don't necessarily want to go write happy birthday on somebody's page along with, 200 other people who wish them happy birthday. That's not very authentic. If I'm going to wish anybody a happy birthday, I'm going to at least do it in a private message, or better yet, a phone call, now that we're living in the pandemic times here. So making sure that you're connecting authentically and not just in a really easy way of pressing the like button, or even taking the extra second and changing that icon to a heart instead. um, Connect authentically. Use Facebook for the information sharing great tool it is. It's so and so's birthday, or so and so just had a baby, or they got engaged, or someone's daughter is graduating. That's great to know. It's great information, and we might not have it if it wasn't for social media, at least not at the level that we do. But what you choose to do with that, if you can connect authentically, um, it's just better. It's always going to be better. So I kind of call this defense against the dark arts in a way, because social media has such a dark side to it as well as it has a positive side. So it's a wonderful tool, but you also have to armor up a little bit when you use it, um, and remind yourself of just how curated people's lives can be. Um, and then, when you connect authentically, I did want to add that just taking it out of that spotlight and making it less about how many people said happy birthday, and having those one or two people who reach out and say, happy birthday, um, and I consider you a true friend, is really, it's going to be much more powerful. So, um, and then finally, I just wanted to say that, not rewarding bad behavior. Um, you There's all kinds of those posts out there. I think my mom actually is the worst at this, but like the vague booking, as they call it. My mom, or let's not say my mom, right? Somebody will post like having such a bad day, dot dot dot. You know, just don't engage with that kind of thing. They're seeking. I mean, engage with them in a personal level, but don't engage in it in the posts. The same thing goes with either obvious bragging or picking a fight. Um, we will all make social media a better place if we don't engage in that kind of thing. I think the more we can put more positive things out there, and again, I've just made some huge mistakes on social media in the past, and really regret those, and anything that causes hurt. So anytime that we can put positivity out there, authentic positivity, and not participate in anything that causes more divisiveness. I mean, there are some things that make people really angry, especially around politics right now. And I think we all have the opportunity to make Facebook a little bit better place, if we can all step away from that and not engage, don't bite. Um, it's so easy for people to sit behind a screen and to say um, mean things, or to um, share misinformation. And it's very easy on the other side of that to get mad and respond. And so really taking a step back and saying, this is, why do I need to respond? I don't, and not engaging. So stepping back and not rewarding bad behavior. So, and then I really just think that reducing exposure in general to social media for some people is just a real positive. Just to share some of my own experiences, at a time when I was struggling with, I'm going to call it, fear of missing out, FOMO, or some insecurities. I would find myself just scrolling and scrolling, and I would find myself feeling worse and worse. And so, if you can take a step back from that and reduce that exposure. So I stepped back and decided to only check it once a day. And then I decided to reduce that to every other day. And pretty soon, Facebook was, and Instagram and Twitter were so much less a part of my life. And I found myself feeling a lot better. So if that's a personal struggle for you too, consider reducing your exposure to that and see what that does for you. It's an easy experiment to do. I mean, just give yourself 2 days without it. And I say that's easy. It's actually kind of hard to do, but it gets easier hour by hour, frankly. So, reducing your exposure to that can really change how you think about it, pardon me, and how you interact with it overall, and really make it a much better place for you. I also really advise people to put the people and the pages that mean the most to you, to change your settings so that those are at the top. That's what you want to see first. That's what you're coming there for. You're not necessarily coming to see, that your neighbor's cat is doing tricks, although cat videos on Facebook are truly wonderful. But you are really there to connect with the people that you love first and foremost. So I've set mine so that, you know, my college roommates and a couple other key people in my life, and you know, my sister, they come up first because that's what I want to see. And really, by then, I'm usually out of about as much time as I'm gonna allot on Facebook, and I don't end up really going much further into my feed anyway. And I've really found that to be great. It's just like it's an easy check-in. I can see what my niece is doing, you know, down in Arizona because I don't get to see her here in Iowa very much. And I've kind of gotten my, you know, my hit of love for her and that little that little boost, and then I'm kind of on my merry way from there. Um, it's a really good way to use it for the connection tool that it is. So, you know, my thoughts on this are that it is such a wonderful connection tool. I can't imagine life without it anymore, but I have really learned to adapt how I use it and what I use it for, and over the years, and it's you know, it's just been an interesting evolution for everybody as it, you know, went from being something for younger, you know, late teens, early 20s, and now you know, they don't want anything to do with it anymore, to, you know, sort of like a place where a lot of moms were hanging out for a while, and then it got wider, and then all our moms got on it and ruined it for it. No, but you know, it really has expanded, and the main group that is gaining the most audience on Facebook in particular is actually baby boomers and retirees, because they have figured out what a great connection tool it is. So using it for that, and using it in a positive way is just a great approach and philosophy. So um, that's all I have to say. I'm kind of short with this today. I hope you guys have a great Sunday, and you can reach out to me anytime. My name is Jen Newman, and my email is jen@thinkdenovo.com. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach me. So thanks. Have a great day.